Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene had this to say to Fox News' Tucker Carlson about her visit to the Big Apple. Let's watch.
Really quick, since you were just there, but Mayor Adams described New York as, quote, his home. How did his home look? Pretty neat and tidy?
No, his home is disgusting. I compared it to what I called Gotham City. The streets are filthy. They're covered with people basically dying on drugs. They can't even stand up. They're falling over. There's so much crime in the city. I can't comprehend how people live there. It was repulsive. It smells bad. And I think it's a terrible place.
MSNBC host Mehdi Hasan pointed out on Twitter, on a serious note, no Democratic politician from the coast could ever go visit a Republican-led city in the South and then go on a liberal media outlet and call it repulsive, smelly, and disgusting. No way. A reminder of the double standards and asymmetry in our politics and our media. I think a Democrat could do that. They would just then go on to lose the presidential election the way Hillary Clinton did after she called half of Americans deplorables. I guess there's something. I'm not a huge fan of Mehdi Hasan's commentary usually, but I guess there's probably something to what he's saying there. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's something to what he's saying. Of course, we know that the rural base is the Republican base, and people in cities are Democrats. But I'll tell you, first of all, she said the streets have people on them. It's New York City.
People dying, but yeah,
and by the way, New York City is the safest big city in America, by the way.
It's actually, that is true. New York City is actually doing a lot better than many of our other cities.
It's the 9th safest city in the world, major city in the world. So all this idea, there's so much crime. You can go to San Bernardino, California, run by Republicans. You can go to Jacksonville, Florida. You got a way better chance of getting murdered, run by Republicans. We saw what was happening in Miami, run by Republicans. So this idea,
Philadelphia is very bad, Baltimore is very bad,
Sure.
Chicago's very bad.
Sure, yeah. But my point is that, this is an issue that we have in our cities, and it's not necessarily a partisan one, because some of the most violent cities, even if they are Democrat-run, are in Republican states. And I think those people, I've interviewed some of those people before, and they argue that they're starved for resources from the Republican state government. So again, I think the issues calling New York, which many people around the world would love to live in New York City if they could afford to, saying that it's disgusting, it smells. You're making a comment about the people who live there, and those people are Americans. I think that's a sad thing when we talk about our own country and our own people that way.
No, I get what you're saying. New York is not my favorite city. I like it here in D.C. I'm a big D.C. fan. Everybody talks down about this city because we're not a real city because we don't have tall buildings, but it's nice here.
No, I love D.C. I love New York too.
Yeah, fan. I hate how long it takes. Well, it's just going to sound like an old person complaining or something. When I go to New York City, I want to see people, I want to see friends I have, and it's so spread out. You end up commuting to if you're in Manhattan and you have people who live in Brooklyn or Queens, it takes forever to get. It's a big place.
Yeah.
So I get that she shouldn't. Obviously, MTG was making very hyperbolic claims about the state of the city. As you point out, it's not even strictly on a city by city basis. It's not doing as badly as some of our other cities. I do think some of the crime issue in particular, the state of homeless encampments, people having psychotic and drug episodes. Even here in D.C., I see it. It's gotten worse over the years. It's gotten really bad in a lot of places in California. It seems to have gotten worse in a number of cities. And I think that's a source of frustration, honestly, not just for Republicans, but including for independents and for Democrats who live in the cities.
But I think there's more empathy for people who are having trouble with drugs and housing in rural areas. I could take you an hour and a half away from here to places in West Virginia that I visited, and they have a lot of those issues. It's just rural. They have people walking around who are clearly on drugs, who are struggling. But for some reason, we seem to have empathy for those people who are largely working class, rural, and white than we do with the people of New York City. And I think we need to look at us, as a whole, as Americans. And yes, New York City has problems. Yes, it has problems with drugs and fentanyl and all of the things that you would also find in some of those rural areas. For some reason, they don't get the same empathy from people like MTG.
I guess that might be the case. I have empathy for both groups of those people. I also have empathy for, in both situations, their neighbors, commuters who
sure.
Have to walk past this. And it's just it's not just a matter of unsightliness or something, but these these can be dangerous and unsafe situations. I mean, including for the people who are struggling with the drug addiction and the psychotic behavior. They're sleeping in not great conditions. They're coming into conflict with each other when they're in states of drug addiction and mental illness. These closely correlating things where there are stabbings, there are beatings, there's that kind of thing going on, and it doesn't feel. I feel for them. I don't want these people languishing in this condition. And we haven't really come up with I don't know. We're allowing it to happen to a great degree, and I'm troubled by it. I don't know what should be done, but something should be done.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement. There are estimates that say that with $20 billion, we could end homelessness in this country. We're able to send $20 billion in a lot of different places.
But I don't know if we could just, if it was just a matter of housing, but. Well, this is an argument that I know exists, that people argue about this in the how do we help this. We've had some of these debates on the show. Some people will say, yes, we need to make more housing available. Others will say, but unless the drug addiction and mental illness issue is confronted, people are not going to stay in the housing, or they ruin the housing, and then they're back on the street. Or they need to be in proximate location to their drug dealers, so they're not going to stay in the housing. So until there's, but it's hard to force people to take drugs that help break their addiction and deal with if they're unwilling to do it. It takes confrontation with law enforcement or even if it's mental health people. Confrontation can be dicey. People don't want to do it. Yeah. It just seems like a difficult problem to solve.
And mentally ill people also have rights. Like you can't grab them and take them somewhere, even if you think it's for their own good.
That is the way we've gone with things, yes.
I think there's a difference between homelessness and houselessness as well. There are people who literally are on the street, and then you have people who are sleeping on somebody's couch. They don't have a home. I think that there are ways we can certainly help some of those people who are on people's couches or maybe in shelters. People who say that we don't have enough housing, I'd like to drive them through Baltimore where there's abandoned housing everywhere that could maybe be rehabbed. And we could actually put human beings in those houses instead of them just sitting there as an eyesore. That's going to take money, but like I said, I think the government finds money when they need it, or when they think they need it. But with these kinds of problems, all of a sudden everybody's broke.
How about that? Well, that does it for us for today. Jason, it was so nice to have you in the hosting chair. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
Did you have fun?
Thank you. I loved it. I want to do it again.
Great.
Let's make it happen.
We'll absolutely have you back. Tomorrow on Rising, yes, you heard me right. There will be a Tomorrow on Rising because we're trying out Rising Fridays again. Brianna Joy Gray will be here tomorrow with another guest host, Inez Stepman, and so please tune into that, and then I'll be back on Monday. In the meantime, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we are of course available. We say it every day, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. See you tomorrow.